Good evening. My name is Marty Sawyers. I am the Vice Chair of the Board of Valley Christian Schools, and it is my honor and privilege on behalf of the board, the administration, the faculty, and staff to welcome you to the graduation for the class of 2019. Going to Valley and spending time around Valley, you realize you're part of a family, and some of these families have traveled far. So we'd like to recognize any of our out-of-town family members and guests. Would you please rise so we can recognize you? It's a sacrifice both financially and time-wise to travel this far, so thank you very much to honor your friends and your family. There's one other group of people that we'd like to honor, and it's the parents. They've sacrificed not just their time, their resources, whether it be driving, playing taxi driver to and from different events and school, but just being there for our kids. So would the parents of our students please rise and let us honor you. Please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today and what it means for these young men and women. Thank you that you've been watching over them and their families these last several years, and we're going to ask that you bless them, continue to bless them, and watch over them in whatever decisions and journey they take next. Thank you so much for who you are, for loving us in more ways and in ways that we can't even imagine. Thank you for being such a big part of what we do here at Valley Christian Schools and tonight. Again, thank you for loving us in ways we can't even understand, but for sending your son to die for us. We ask this in your son's name. Amen.
Good evening, and I would also, on behalf of the faculty and staff of Valley Christian, welcome you this evening. So I first of all want to just thank Central Christian for allowing us to have this ceremony in this beautiful facility. I realize that causes a lot of strain on the facility as well as the staff, and you've just been absolutely great to work with, and we are so appreciative of that. I know I say this every year, but graduation is a bittersweet time for me as an educator. It's sweet because I know these students are well equipped to make a difference wherever God calls them to on the next level. But it's also bitter that we will not have daily interaction with these students anymore. It's been a real joy to interact with them on a daily basis, and we are going to miss that as well. This class, you guys have performed exceedingly well. You knocked it out of the park with scholarships. You averaged $121,994. That's an average in scholarships. Can you give this class a hand for doing that? They also really had an impressive list of universities that they're accepted to. That's $13.5 million that these students have received in scholarships. Incidentally, seniors, we'll expect about 3 times that back to the school in 15 years, just saying. So, class of 2019, that aside, I'm just so really proud of you guys for the leadership that your class has shown. Many of you stepped up in that class, in your class. You know who you are. You weren't afraid to model Christ, and you just really had a servant attitude in many ways through our school as well as the community. It definitely showed. Juniors out there, I hope you were watching so you can emulate what this class did. So thank you very much. It really made a difference this year. Something unique about this class as well, for the first time we're graduating 5 international students, 2 of them from Vietnam, 1 from Angola, 1 from Nigeria, and 1 from China. So we're We absolutely love this program. We believe this program is great for our student body, and we believe it's great for the students coming as well. But to be totally transparent, we are finding it hard to find some host families, and we really need some host families to continue this program. So if the Lord is even pricking your heart just a little bit to possibly even inquiry about hosting an international student next year, just call the school. We'd love to share information about that. Graduates, as you leave the halls of Valley Christian, I would like you to remember this, a quote by Tom Bodette. In school, you are taught lessons to take a test, but in life, you are given a test to learn a lesson. Seniors, our hope and prayer is that the lessons you have learned at Valley Christian High School will help you navigate those tests of life. And I can guarantee you they're going to be harder than Mrs. Jackson's chemistry test as well. And we're just asking you to cling fast to what you know and understand and believe about God's truth. That's so important. And we know that you can make a difference in Christ's kingdom wherever He calls you to as well. So we are so very proud of you, seniors. We're excited to see what God is going to do to your life. And thank you. A job well done. At this time, I'd like to call Bob Davies, our board treasurer, to the podium at this time, and he's going to present the award for outstanding service.
You guys have a lot of friends, like you guys do. So, ladies and gentlemen, faculty and staff, Mr. Kuiper, fellow board members, distinguished guests, and most importantly, the class of 2019. Tonight, I am honored to present this year's Director's Award for Outstanding Service. I'd like to start my presentation by speaking directly to the class of 2019. You guys are awesome. You guys, listening to what Mr. Kuiper just said, the Lord has blessed me and my family with great friendships with many of you over the past years and your families. In fact, I've known some of you since you were this tall in first grade. Except for Brett and Connor, I think you guys were this tall. The other day I asked a few of you what you were going to miss most about Valley. But I think you misunderstood my question because the top three answers were Larson's pop quizzes. I don't know which Larson. Soggy Chick-fil-A on Mondays, and turning in service hour forms. But let's talk about those service hours. I think we can all agree the most impressive qualities about Valley is our commitment to show the love of Jesus Christ through all we do in serving the communities here and abroad. Isaiah 58:10 says, "Feed the hungry, help those in need, then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be as bright as midday." So graduates, show of hands. Who turned in service hour forms for work you did inside the state of Arizona? Pretty easy, should be all of you. All right. How about outside the state of Arizona? That's pretty cool. How about outside the United States? How about in Los Limones, Guatemala? Brody? Where are you, buddy? Want to hear something pretty cool? This class is credited with over 7,000 service hours during their 4 years at Valley. That is just incredible. Okay, now I want to ask parents and guests to please stand if you volunteered at any time during the last 4 years at Valley. No one? 4 years. Stay standing for just a moment. Graduates, turn and look at these people. They represent thousands of shining hours that made the last 4 years for you incredible. Say thank you when you get a chance. And parents, before you sit down, sorry, turn in those service hour forms. Otherwise, the kids may not graduate. I don't know. Just kidding, just kidding. One last point I'd like to make for the grads. Serving is not about filling out forms or even receiving awards. Let me repeat Isaiah 58. Feed the hungry and help those in need. Then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be as bright as midday. My prayer for each of you graduates is you continue to shine as bright as the Arizona sun for all to see. Speaking of shining bright, each year the Board of Directors recognizes a Valley Christian family for their outstanding service to our community. This year's recipients have volunteered hundreds of hours over the last 9 years. Whether it was at Mom's Lunch, for cheerleading, football chain gang, gift wrapping at Christmas, the auction committees, and student council, just to name a few. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite Elaine and James Stone up here to receive this year's award. While they make their way up, graduates, take a quick peek here. All right, thanks. The flowers up there are yours too. They'll give them to you at the end. So on behalf of the Board of Directors and the entire Valley Christian community, it is with great honor that we tell you that you have been such a bright and shining light for Valley for the last 9 years, and thank you so much.
Hello, families, friends, and students. These past few years, Valley has given so much to us, academically, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
So we want to give a gift for Valley from our class as our legacy. On behalf of class of 2019, we are purchasing a snacky and drinking pleasure vending machine for the main hallway. This will help students and staff to make drinks and food purchases when Snack Shack is not open.
We are excited to give Valley this gift and pray it will help support more student activities for the years to come. Thank you.
The Outstanding Senior Boy and Girl Awards are presented to the most exceptional representatives of the class according to the following criteria: Christian character, maturity and growth, cumulative grade point average, course load, extracurricular participation, and church involvement. The recipients of these awards have been voted on by our faculty. These students have demonstrated excellence in every area of their lives during their time at Valley. We are honored to present the Outstanding Senior Boy Award this year to Kyle Joost. With the same criteria, we are honored to present the Outstanding Senior Girl Award to Courtney Stone. Christian Character Award is presented to the student who has attended Valley for at least the past 3 years and shown maturity in their Christian walk and consistency in their growth of their faith. The faculty is pleased to present this year's Christian Character Award to Carson Slater. The Valley Christian High School valedictorian and salutatorian are the students who have the most outstanding record of academic achievement in the class. Their grade points, class load, and overall academic achievements have earned them this award and honor. This year's salutatorian is Ethan Jones. Please help me in congratulating Ethan as he comes forward to receive his award.
Family and friends, thank you for coming to celebrate this special day with us. All of you have sacrificed time and money to be here, so we greatly appreciate your willingness to celebrate with us. Faculty and staff, thank you for being with us every step of the way, guiding us and pushing us to ensure that we would get to this day with as little hindrances as possible. Instead of taking a trip down memory lane, I wanted to give you an insight to a topic that has been on my mind over this past year. The mortality of life was continually on my thoughts as it began to drive my daily habits. God works in mysterious ways because this idea came to me in the first semester, and by the second semester, we were reading a book called Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper. Although it was not our favorite read because of Piper's repetitiveness, I would like to share one specific passage that he wrote about. He recalled a story that came from a 1998 article in Reader's Digest. It spoke of a couple who took early retirement from their jobs in the Northeast in 1998, when he was 59 and she was 51. When they lived in Punta Gorda, Florida, where they cruised on their 30-foot trawler, played softball, and collected seashells. Piper questioned that this might be a joke or a spoof on the American dream, but it wasn't. The point Piper was trying to make with recalling this story showed the implications of this life in the next. Should it really be our goal to get to the end of this life just to show God our seashells? When I meditated on these words, the magnitude of life weighed heavily on my shoulders. With this theme being so prevalent over the past year, it was almost perfect that at our Easter chapel, Tonk spoke these words. Jesus was at work every single day up until he died. From the time that Jesus entered Jerusalem to the time that he was on the cross, Jesus was teaching parables, and he even laid out the greatest commandment. But what was so perplexing about this realization was that Jesus knew when he was going to die. Graduates, as we go into the next moment of life, my prayer is that you do not get caught up in the distractions of this world. Getting wrapped up in the distractions and pleasures of this world will prevent you from living your life to its fullest extent. In our lives already, we have taken time to do activities that waste time and temporarily fill our desires. It is a fact of life that we will encounter these moments in life. Although we are sinful, allow your will to become God's will, so that our daily choices will reflect his glory and bring glory to him. Reflecting on the retired couple. Do we want to delight in the pleasures of this earth so much that it takes us away from living out a life of bringing glory to God? If your eyes are not first set on the kingdom of God, your eyes will not be set on the kingdom at all. Whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Allow your decisions to reflect the glory of God in all that you do in order to live life to the fullest extent. Don't waste your life. Thank you.
This year we have co-valedictorians, and one of those is Anna Geek. So please help me in congratulating Anna Geek as she comes forward to give her address and receive her award.
Just gotta find my speech. To my fellow graduates, families, teachers, administrators, and distinguished guests, thank you for the role that you have played in all of our lives for the past 4 years. Thank you so much for the opportunities that you've given us, and for this opportunity to come before you with humility and gratitude. Graduates, do you have a heart for Jesus? You've probably heard this one over 1 million times at Valley Christian High School, but I'd say it's a fair question. Ask Miss Jackson. Get Timmer's take. What would Mrs. Heim say about that? I mean, how about your parents? Or maybe your friends? They are sitting right next to you. Each and every one of them would have their opinion about each and every graduate who sits in this room, including you, as to whether or not they have a heart for Jesus. You're probably wondering why this is even important. I'd say it's because you are choosing love. Gospel of John 13:34 states, "Now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other." Graduates, we will all journey out into this world called life. We have all been given gifts directly from God. Each and every one of you have talents, abilities, and passions that are yours and yours alone. When your God-given passion aligns with your God-given gifts, you glorify God. I mean, blessed are you. When you seek to discover your true gifts and pursue your true passions, your heart is for Jesus. Now, fear not. My dad still tells me he's trying to figure out what he wants to do with his life when he grows up. So it is okay if you don't know where your passions or gifts or college major lie yet. Or better yet, you may recognize that our passions and gifts can and will change over time, because such is life and part of our journey. This journey requires that we discover these things about ourselves. But you can't do this without a heart for Jesus. Also, can you do this alone? Can you truly discover your gifts and passions alone? No. I mean, I sure can't. That's what the bodies of believers is for. God put our families, teachers, mentors, and friends who love us and are in relationship with us in our lives so that they might point us to Him. To imagine, that is why we are created. To be in relationship with God and each other is the essence of our creation, hence the greatest of commands, to love one another. So do what you love to do, as long as it honors God in a right relationship. By doing so, you are loving one another, you are loving God, because you are using your gifts and your passions in the family of God and in the world where they so desperately need to be seen. Graduates, this makes God known, and I believe I'm not the only one when I say that I would much rather work to glorify Him rather than myself. Now, class of 2019, go into this world and show them that we have a heart for Jesus. Thank you, and God bless you.
It is my honor today to present the inaugural award for the Al Nelson STEM Scholarship. Al Nelson joined the Valley Christian family in 1987. then spent 31 years at the school as a math teacher and as a coach of numerous sports, including basketball, track, and volleyball. He was also the school statistician for nearly every sport and would commonly be found in the press box or at the scorer's table at Trojan sporting events. In 2016, the city of Chandler recognized him with their Sports Hall of Fame Special Recognition Award. Al also delighted in sharing his gift of music by playing the national anthem on his trumpet at numerous events. The Lord took Al home in April of 2018. Al believed that math is the language God uses in his creation. He also believed that today's teenagers have an abundance of talent and energy that God can use in a mighty way to share the challenges of the next generation. Before he passed, Al shared with those closest to him that he wished he had money to leave to Valley Christian for a scholarship. After his passing, it was discovered that Al did indeed have financial resources to leave to the school, and the school has chosen to honor Al's request with the Al Nelson STEM Scholarship. This $2,000 scholarship will be given annually to a deserving senior who is pursuing a math or STEM career or emphasis, who embodies Al's passion for well-roundedness and participation in extracurriculars, and who honors God in and out of the classroom. Each year, this scholarship will be awarded to one student, except this year, the inaugural year, in which we'll be awarding the scholarship to two outstanding students. It is my privilege to honor Mr. Nelson's legacy by announcing the first two recipients of the Al Nelson STEM Scholarship Award. Please welcome Ms. Hannah Nittmeyer and Ms. Mei-Ling Lickness.
Our other class valedictorian is Megan Gomez, so please help me in congratulating Megan as she comes forward to receive her award and give her address.
What is success? Is it winning a state championship? Is it becoming the first instrumentalist to be qualified for the All-State Band in the past decade? Is it just simply passing one of your English classes? Class of 2019, you've made it. Each one of you have so rightfully earned the tassel on your head and the seat you're sitting on right now. Through all of those hard or easy classes and those long hours of school, you finally reached the moment you've been waiting for. Throughout the past 4 years, you have endured both victories and obstacles. I'm sure you have felt some success in your high school career and both unsuccessful. Who really defines success? What defines success? When you go to bed each night, how do you determine whether you have achieved anything that day? I have a simple answer for you. Success is being a reflection of Christ, an image bearer of God. Now, what does being a reflection of Christ really mean? When you look at yourself in the mirror, what do you see? Physically, you see yourself, but how are you reflected internally? Being a reflection of Christ means mirroring God. Of course, none of us can or ever will be perfect, but being a reflection of Christ means that we display God to others. Being an image bearer means that we live our life for God and not for ourselves, that our lives are Christ-centered rather than self-centered. The purpose of an image is to be erected to display the original image. With that being said, we as Christians must display God. Now that I've given you a basic understanding of success, let me give you 3 steps to achieve it. First, if your heart is broken, you must heal it. When I talk about a broken heart, I'm not talking about the romantic kind of heartbreak, but instead I'm talking about a corrupted heart. What is a corrupted heart? That is a heart that is completely against God. This could also mean someone who is struggling with their faith or doesn't understand God completely. If this happens, how can that person encourage others? A heart that doesn't know Jesus is a heart that needs healing. In order to heal your heart, you must accept Christ as your Savior and truly believe that He has saved you from your sins. In this way, you understand God's glory and the forgiveness He has given us. Second, you must pursue Christ. Once you put your faith in Jesus, it's time for you to thirst and hunger for Him. By doing so, you can create a more intimate relationship with Him, which is something we should all strive for. We cannot just expect God to come to us all the time. We must come to Him in times of fear, happiness, praise, and trouble. We're not independent beings. Rather, we're dependent on God. We can never be fully satisfied with what we have on this earth. God will always provide, but we must pursue Him and make the effort to. Lastly, you must live your life out for God. God has called us to make disciples of all nations. We accomplish this by living our lives that is most honoring to God. Whether this is loving people who are hard to love, trusting Him in difficult times, putting others' interests above your own, dedicating time in His Word, or showing others His goodness, we must set a godly example to those who don't know Christ, because educating someone about Christ can be the greatest gift someone can receive. When you do this, not just once, but throughout your whole life, you have achieved success. When you go on with your day, it doesn't matter how much money you make or whether you're the boss of the biggest company. If you're not reflecting Christ in a righteous way, you aren't achieving success. People will know how you act, so it's important that you live for Christ and show others what it means to do that. This doesn't mean you shouldn't be proud about your accomplishments. You should be completely proud of your all-state qualifications or your state championships and everything you've accomplished. You should be completely thrilled about that. When it comes down to it, the material items we have on earth will not matter to the eternity received in the kingdom of heaven. When we encounter the gates of heaven, God won't be asking about your income, but rather how you lived your life for Him. Success isn't an easy thing to accomplish. Success will take time. I'm not going to stand in front of you all today and pretend that I've done everything I just said. Success is something I'm still working on. At the end of the day, this yellow cloth around my neck does not define me or separate me from any of you, because in reality, I'm just as much of a sinner as every single person in this room. I could be up here today telling you about my favorite high school memories, and as much as I do cherish those and love those, I would find that as a wasted opportunity. God gave me this opportunity, no matter how much I don't like public speaking or have to live up to my brother's iconic graduation speech, to tell you all about achieving success. Class of 2019, as we move apart and open a new chapter of our lives, I challenge you to become a reflection of Christ. I encourage you to find success in this. Thank you.
Our speaker this evening is the chairman of Valley Christian High School's board, Valley Christian Schools now board. He is a native of Hawaii. He's been a longtime supporter of Valley Christian Schools. Mike has been very instrumental in leading the school through those transitions the last couple of years. He is a visionary thinker and thinks big for Valley Christian High School. Mike met his wife, Tracy, at the University of Hawaii, where he played quarterback for their football team, and Tracy ran cross country for the Rainbow Warriors. They moved to Arizona 21 years ago to expand their business. Mike has always been an entrepreneur and has built and sold several businesses throughout his time in Arizona. Today, he's the founder and president of the Edison Company, which is an energy-efficient company that specializes in helping commercial facilities reduce their energy costs. Mike and Tracy have 2 children. Their son, Sky, graduated from Valley in 2016 and is now married to an alumnus, Chloe, who graduated in 2015. And their daughter, Paige, is graduating tonight. So please help me in welcoming Mike Rodriguez.
Thanks, Dan. Very nice. Appreciate that. How about a big hand for Mr. Dan Kuiper? Are you guys ready to have some fun? Me too. It's such a special night. I'm in a good mood, so let's go. The Bible tells us in 1 Corinthians to run the race as if to win. So I want to tell you a story. It's a true story about a race I ran in the 8th grade. It's not a perfect metaphor for life, but I think you'll enjoy it. Then we're going to circle back around, graduates, and we're going to pull some lessons out of it that I know you can use in your adventure forward. So let me set the table. In every great story, there are good guys, people that you root for. In our story, the good guys are Iolani. Iolani is a school I went to. It reminds me a lot of Valley Christian. It's a kindergarten through 12th grade school. In every great story, there are bad guys, someone to root against. In our story, the bad guys are St. Louis High School, one of Iolani's rivals. Now, what I'm going to do is I am about to rerun this race for you right here on stage. Now, if I do that, I feel like it's fair for me to ask you to be an active audience. Is that fair? What I mean by that is every time you hear Iolani, I need you to be Iolani. I need you to cheer and make some noise. And every time you hear St. Louis, I need you to boo. I'm serious. Some of you are thinking, wait a minute, is that even allowed to boo a high school in a church? Listen, Central Christian has been our family's home church for the last 15 years. I already got it cleared through them. Tonight only, you can boo St. Louis High School in here, so we're good. So picture this. I'm in the 8th grade running track. My coaches are trying to figure out where to put me, mostly sprints, the 200, the 400. So I show up to the event today, and the coaches say, Mike, we're going to have you run the mile, okay? So now I'm on the infield with the other boys about to run the mile, waiting to get on the track. I'm running up. I'm in the 8th grade, but I'm running freshman track. I notice all these other boys know each other because they're always running the mile, so they're all talking and joking around. All the attention is focused on this one boy, Alan. One kid would say, Alan, don't beat us too badly today, ha, ha, ha. Another kid, Alan, don't lap me today, ha, ha, ha. I'm standing on the outside looking in thinking, are you kidding? We're not even on the track yet, and these guys have given up. That's just crazy talk, right? And are they seeing what I'm seeing? I mean, look at Alan. He's a scrawny kid, unathletic looking, not an ounce of muscle on him. Do you know someone like that? Graduates, do not point at any classmate, okay, please. And faculty and staff, please stop, guys. Stop all looking at Troy Thielen. That's just not nice, all right? Just now that we have a visual of what Alan looked like, we get onto the track, they're lining us up, and I'm thinking, okay, he's got to be at least pretty good or they wouldn't be making these jokes. So my strategy was simple. I'm going to follow him around 4 times, come down the home stretch. I'm a sprinter. I think I'm faster than him. I'll outkick him to win the race. That was my strategy. So they line us up right here at the line. Hold on. Okay. Boom, gun goes off. Alan takes off. I take off behind him. We hit that turn fast. We hit pole position. Alan cuts in. I cut in behind him. Guys, I got to tell you, I was feeling pretty good. Usually I'm at a full sprint. Now we're at a quick jog. So I'm liking this. We come around this turn. We're running at Punahou High School track. Punahou's track is in a bowl. So on this side of the hill, that's where my school sat, Iolani. Thank you. That makes me feel good. It made me feel really good back then when they were cheering for me. I run, I smile, I actually wave. I'm thinking I might get a date out of this, right? 8th grade boy. And so we round that corner, coming down this near straightaway, stretching my legs. I'm feeling good. I'm thinking, this mile thing, this is the best race ever. Why haven't I been running this sooner? Cross the line, going into the second lap. Right before we're about to turn, on this side of the hill, that's where St. Louis sat. Thank you, they deserve it. And their two coaches standing on the outside of the track, yelling for Alan, their runner. All right, Alan, you're the best. Alan, do your thing. I'm thinking they have no idea what's about to happen. Neither did I, but it felt good thinking that. So I'm right behind him. We turn the corner. We start entering that far straightaway. Right there, I noticed there's a trend happening here. Super irritating. Alan kept, how do I describe this? Alan kept running faster. He kept picking up the pace. I wanted to yell out, dude, just chill already. But he kept going faster. I kept going faster. I'm following him. We're going down this far straightaway, and we're starting to make this turn. And right before we hit that turn, of all things, a math equation pops into my head. And when something like this, I'm thinking, I'm not dead tired yet. I've got 30% of my energy left, so I can see the bottom. And I've got 60% of this race still left. So 60% more with 30% energy. I started doing the math, this long division, and I kept thinking, do I divide the 30 into 60 or the other way around? Either way, it's not looking good for me. Before I could get too mentally fatigued, here comes Iolani. All the numbers fly out of my head. I'm feeling, I don't want to break my stride and wave, so I just smile, give them the what's up, let them know I see them. Round the corner, coming down that straightaway, I'm running hard, he's running hard, and now for the first time, Alan's little body gets smaller as he starts to pull away. First 2 strides, then 3 strides, we cross the line. I'm going into that third lap. I'm thinking there's 2 more laps. I don't know if I got that in me. Before I could get 2 down, there's St. Louis. His coaches are yelling, you got this, Alan. You got it. Put him away, Alan. Do your thing. He's tired. I couldn't help but feel at the moment, for them, it was less about cheering for Alan and more about cheering against me. I think I was getting emotionally sensitive at the time, but hearing that gave me energy. So I push up right behind Alan again. We hit that far straightaway. We start going down. He's going faster. I'm going faster. Parents, has this ever happened to you? You're just walking along, no reason, you don't trip, no hole in the ground, and your knee just buckles? Has that ever happened? That happened to me several times on this far straightaway. So I got a hitch in my giddy up, and I'm thinking, how do you fix something like that? Before I get too worried, I'm rounding the corner. There's Iolani. They're yelling like you are. They're screaming. I think they're jumping up and down. At this point, my senses, I can't see clearly. My eyes are a little blurry. I'm not feeling well. You ever have that where you're so hungry, all of a sudden you're just not hungry anymore? It just went away. For me at this point, I was so tired, all of a sudden I noticed I was ridiculously tired. It never got better. It kept getting worse. We round the corner, coming down the near straightaway. Everything's blurring. Everything is fading except my hearing, of all things. My hearing goes on to like satellite mode, and I hear the big booming voice from above. Wasn't God, but the voice was clearly talking to me as I'm running, and the voice says, Houston, we have a problem. And I yelled back, I know, stop saying that. And I was thinking this mile thing. This is the worst race ever. Why am I doing this? Is it hot in here or am I running too fast? Too much wind resistance here, it's not working. We crossed that line, last lap, gun lap, bell lap. I don't know if I can run another lap. I mean, there's three too many. We're going around the corner. There's St. Louis. 2 grown men yelling at the top of their lungs, pointing at an 8th grader, yelling, "He's got nothing, he's got nothing." That made me so mad. They don't know me. They don't know my heart. They don't know my drive. They don't know how bad I want this. And most of all, there's no way they could have known. They were absolutely right. I had nothing. But who are they to say that? What that did, that gave me what I didn't have. It gave me more energy. So I push up against Alan. We're right behind him. That back far straight away. He's going, I'm following him. My satellite hearing is still in tune. And all of a sudden, I hear clearly a wounded wild boar chasing me. In Hawaii, there's wild boar. In the mountains, in the valleys, guys go hunting for them. But this is a highly populated area, very dense. So I'm thinking, what are the odds, not just a wild boar, a wounded wild boar chasing me on the last lap of the freshman mile on Punahou track? Not very high. But I could clearly hear it sound like this. Then, yeah, I figured it out. That was me. I was struggling to breathe. And I started thinking, man, my windpipe was burning. I couldn't figure out, is it burning because it's hot or burning because it's cold? I just knew I couldn't breathe. And I'm thinking, I'm an 8th grader. Is this doing permanent damage to my body? Is this what the beginning of death feels like? Because I think so. But before I could have more morbid thoughts, here comes Iolani. Pandemonium, they're on their feet. The entire stadium's on its feet watching this dogfight. I'm just in a blur at this point. Now I'd lost control of my senses. Now I lose control of my mind. I get 2 thoughts, 2 questions come into my head. Embarrassed to say this, the first question that occurred to me was, Mike, how important is winning really? Followed by, why can't we just all call each other winners no matter what place we finish? So parents, I apologize. I think I invented participation awards right there on that spot. But thank goodness before I could do anything, my instincts kicked in. I went from behind Alan, I pull up beside him, I pass him, he passes me, boom, boom. And then lost control of my senses, lost control of my mind. Now I lose control of my body. My legs at that point and my butt were so heavy, I could not lift my feet off the ground. It's like running in a dream. I just couldn't do it. It's like I'm done. My mind is shutting down. I feel like my body's shutting down. But I see the finish line is getting closer. So I'm actually thinking, how am I moving? Because I know I can't lift my legs. So I got to look down to see what's happening. My hips, on their own, independent of me, had figured it out. They couldn't lift my knees. So what my hips were doing were throwing my legs around each other. So this is what I look like coming down the home stretch. And by the way, that's in real time. That was the speed I was working with. Coming down that home stretch, boom, 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 we fly through that finish line. So let's back up. Graduates, what can we learn from this? You remember when I was standing amongst the other boys and they're all talking to each other? I felt like an outsider. In a couple of months, you're going to be on a new campus, maybe in a new state, maybe on a job site, and you're going to feel like an outsider. Being an outsider is a self-imposed term. Nobody can make you an outsider without your permission. Don't wait for anyone. You be the light, go forward. You can all talk. You're great at conversation. I know your teachers are always telling you to be quiet. So we know you can talk. The challenge is, how do you start a conversation with someone you don't know? It's very simple, guys. Introduce yourself. Say one thing about you. If it's appropriate, shake. If not, you can wave. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm from Arizona. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a freshman. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a business major. Oh, hi, I'm Tony. I'm from California. Hi, I'm Mary. I'm a math major. You're in a conversation. Do not hold on to the outsider mentality. Second lesson, I underestimated Alan. Don't do that, guys. Give people the benefit of the doubt, and sometimes they're going to surprise you in the most wonderful of ways. Earlier for this point, Troy Thielen had to take a bullet, and I appreciate that. In my opinion, as chairman of the board, working with a lot of people, I think Troy Thielen might be one of the most talented individuals we have working for this great school of ours. So how about a hand for Troy? Every time I was running, I wanted to quit. I was sore. I didn't think I could do it. Here comes Iolani. Graduates, you need fans. Your biggest fans have been and always will be your family who are sitting around you right now. Real quick, on your feet, turn around, show some love to your biggest fans. Let's go, graduates. Okay, thank you. Graduates, also know that the Valley Christian community, we're your fans too. Stay plugged into the Alumni Association. Come back, visit. You will always be welcomed with open arms. So important to have fans because when I came running down, every time I was about to hit that corner, there was St. Louis. Good news, bad news, graduates. The bad news is you're always going to have haters. There's always going to be someone who makes it their life's mission to make you miserable. Why? Maybe it's the way you look. Maybe it's the way you talk. Maybe it's the color of your skin. Maybe it's because you're tall, you're short. Maybe it's because you're a Christian. I don't know, but the moment you get rid of that person, someone else is going to come along. It's just a condition of the fallen and broken world that we live in. That's the bad news. The good news, graduates, you don't ever have to let haters dictate your life nor your direction. You keep your direction fixed and never let them affect the speed at which you're running. Like the Bible says, use the Matthew 18 principle of conflict resolution, but sometimes that's just not going to work. They don't want to resolve things. They just have evil in their heart. When that time comes, dust your sandals, move on. Life is too short because you're going to experience as you run your race, you're going to get a hitch in your giddy up. You're going to feel like a wounded wild animal. You're going to have bigger problems than haters. And then coming down that final home stretch, when I lost my mind, lost control of my body, lost control of my senses, you're going to be in deep water. We call that in Hawaii, when you're in over your head, we call that being in deep water. That will happen to you. In the next couple of months, you're going to get challenged. Maybe a better word, you're going to get attacked. And so it's no surprise, I'm going to tell you where it's coming from in 3 areas. You're going to get attacked mentally, you're going to get attacked physically, and you're going to get attacked spiritually. Mentally, I hope our faculty and staff has prepared you well. But it might be a struggle in the beginning. If it's not a struggle in the beginning, it will be a struggle at some point. And then you're going to find yourself in deep water. Physically, you're going to have to make 1,000 little choices that you never had to make before. You're going to have to make decisions based on economics. You're going to have to make physical decisions. You're going to have to make moral decisions. You're going to have to make purity decisions. Now, I know you've been dealing with some of that already. But trust me when I say the magnitude and severity of those decisions will escalate in quantum fold, and especially the consequences. And finally, you're going to get attacked spiritually. Up till now, you had Bible class 4 times a week. You had chapel once a week. For most of you, going to church wasn't a big issue. Your parents got in the car, said, let's go, off you went. In a couple of months, a lot of you are not going to have that person knocking on your bedroom door and say, get up, it's time to go. You can kind of slide by. You can get away with things. You can break some rules. Once upon a time, I was a teenager too. So I know sometimes breaking rules, getting away with things, felt almost cool, felt good. Graduates, you're 18 years old or soon to be. You're legal adults. You are not getting away with anything anymore. The decisions you make, what you do or don't do, it's now who you are. Choose well. And when you get into deep water, not if, always remember your best friend, your best ally, the best life raft and life preserver you can grab onto is your relationship with Jesus. Call out to him, hold on to him. He will never put you in a race that you can't finish. And I just realized my parents are in the room. They flew out from Hawaii to see their granddaughter graduate. So let me just clarify something real quick. Dad, Mom, when I said about teenagers breaking rules, it wasn't me. I saw Daniel and Kathy do it all the time, though. That's where I learned that lesson. To be fair, mostly Kathy. So, nip and tuck, boom, flying through the finish line. I said in the beginning, this wasn't a perfect metaphor. I feel compelled to let you know I lost that race. I remember my time. I ran a 4-minute, 54-second mile. Not too bad, especially for an 8th grader. But he beat me by 1/10 of a second. Graduates, the lesson there, sometimes your best will not be good enough. and that's okay. There's another race, there's another event, there's another sport, there's another challenge. Sometimes those roadblocks is just direction to go somewhere else. No one defeat nor one victory is ever going to define you. The quest is about running another race. So always be moving forward. And finally, after the race, I got a lot of juice from this. You know, a lot of people came up to me, friends, parents, coaches, other team. I started getting passionate. I started feeling like, man, this mile thing, I kind of like it. The next week at practice, my coaches pulled me aside and said, Mike, we're not going to have you run the mile anymore. I was like, did you see what just happened? And they said, you know, we feel like your speed and with your stride, you're going to be better served to run the 400, one lap around. And I thought, okay, you know, I was a little disappointed, but okay. So the next year, as a freshman, focusing on the 400, I ran varsity track and finished the season 9th in the state as a freshman. So my coaches were right. Graduates, a lesson there. Focus on your strengths, not your passions. It's such a cliche right now for people to tell you, graduates, what do you love? What's your passion? Follow your dream. I'm for all of that. Please hear me. Those are good things. All I'm saying is those should not be your first question, because you can be truly passionate about something you're just not good at. You're just not gifted in it. That's called a hobby. If you start with the question, what am I good at? Lay that out. Second question then, what am I passionate about? Filter it out. Now, anything you're left with could be a great major, could be a great career. And now you can one day, you can monetize that and support a family. So start with the question, what am I good at? Not what am I passionate about? Speaking of good and strength, Valley Christian Community, I want to thank you for everything you've done. You know this is a hyper growth phase for our school, largely because of you. Please continue to pray for the school. We need it. Anything you can do above and beyond that will be absolutely appreciated. I want to also thank you personally. I appreciate the introduction Mr. Kuiper just gave me. But like you heard, our son, our daughter-in-law are graduates, and tonight our daughter graduates. So thank you for affecting our household in such a positive way. Wrapping up here, I want to just say very quickly to my Princess Paige, my daughter right there. I'm not going to have her you stand up, sweetie, but I just want to say in front of everyone, Paige, Mom and I are so proud of you. And from the moment you were born till right here, right now, you have brought me joy every single day of my life. Thank you, sweetie. And finally, to our graduates, tonight's your night. The future is yours. Own it, grab it, run toward it. Be nimble in your thinking, but never change your beliefs nor your principles. Have fun, but don't do anything that takes away your self-respect. Keep Jesus as your true north, and always remember, graduates, you are sons and daughters of a king. Graduates of Valley Christian High School 2019, to your marks, get set, go. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. Great advice for our graduates. So at this time, we get to present the diplomas to our graduates. So with the first row of graduates, please stand up.
Tristan Nicholas Onen. Talia Olua Damilola Akanyemi Tavilla. Lorena Diane Manuela Arredondo. Trace Jackson Autry. Amanda Rose Baltadano.
Cole Eugene Beck. Kyle Jefferson Bliss. Connor Andrew Braun. Angela Brasino. Nathan Joel Bewley.
Brett Alec Burkert. Larissa Dorothea Campbell. Thomas Charamonte Carroll. Madison Nicole Castillo. Bronson David Chapman. James Paxton Child. Mason Robert Clegg. Tyler Scott Crouch. Margarita Ava Cruz Gonzalez. Benjamin Robert Doust.
Jaden Riley Das. Morgan Gregory Davies. Aubrey Ann DeMott. Nicholas Eric Dink. Garrett Joseph Dunham. Shane Douglas Dunn. Nathan Lee Dykstra. Jeremy Charles Ellis. Anthony James Ferrero. Zane Frederick Fiedler.
Charlotte Dawn Foster. Chloe Ellen Fraley. Madison May Fraley. Brody Jackson France. Tessa Elena Furlong. Gage Javon Galloway. Anna Marie Geek. Brendan James Goldman. Hope Grace Helen Gomez. Megan Nicole Labaco Gomez.
Jalen Trumaine Grijalva. Jeffrey Eric Grossthal. Marissa Caitlin Hall. Brock Beresford Hand. Peyton John Hansel. Robert Joseph Harney Jr. Trey Henry Harrison. Colton James Hartley. Nathaniel Wesley Herbert. Jacob Chandler Hildebrandt.
Thomas Leonidas Hofer. Natalie Brooke Huffman. Timothy Aaron Gentian. Faith Michelle Johnson. Ethan Michael Jones. Kyle Robert Just. Oyendamola Jojo Lola Coyote Ajala. Kyle Thomas Kinkle. Hannah Lynn Nipmeyer. Mark Wilkin Kolasecki.
David Scott Kuda. Benjamin Kuzmich. Sarah Ann Laverne. Joshua Lee Lawton. Hunter Davis Laresh. Jacob James Laberta. Mayling Lickness. Alyssa Sydney Lynch. James Christopher Mackey. Benjamin Christian Maka.
Matthew Gorman McCrate. Peyton Grace McKenzie. Whitney Joe Moralia. Selena Nicole Marone. Ferran Dalen George Murphy. Benson Mule Matuvi. Quan Hong Un Win. Amber Jolie Nolchef. Elin Sumbana Ortet. Kiki Courtney Adrian Owens.
Musi Padro Vallejo. Zuzu Petals Pash. Chloe Ann Pearson. Jolie Celine Pearson. Natalie Joelle Ray. Isabella Celeste Rea. Yongki Chin Rin. Catherine Bell Rhodes. Paige Rodriguez. Austin John Salat.
Colin Jake Sanchez. Connor Douglas Sawyers. McKenna Marie Schatzel. Gabriel James Scoggin. Madison Noel Shapiro. Evan Scott Scheel. Carson Lee Slater. Marissa Leanne Smith. Tyler Alex Steitler. Courtney Allison Stone.
Jackson Edward Strassner. Samantha Michelle Thomas. Taylor Rose Marie Thompson. Zachary Allen Timmer. Avery Catherine Villani. Ann Min Vo. Tanner Eden Widger. Luke Armstrong Wynn. Samuel Justice Yarbrough. Mackenzie Ruth York. Olivia Ann Zern. As the graduates continue to go through the receiving line, please focus your attention to the VCS Year in Review video. Thank you.
I've been working here already for 36 years. I've chosen to stay at Valley Christian because God has shown me that I can make a difference in students' lives. Christian education has always been a part of my life. I look back at my parents and the investment that they made in my Christian schooling, and realizing now and through my adult age what huge benefits I reaped from that as well. And so if I can pour into other students' lives and do the same and do God's work through it, that's what I wanted to continue to do.
I had had no experience growing up and educationally with Christian schools, but my wife had become a teacher, first at Scottsdale Christian Academy, a couple of tours there, and then at Grace Community Christian School. And through my observing what was going on there, I had become really a relatively radical proponent of Christian education going forward.
I think of the early days with Linda Yarborough and Rosemary Meehan and Barry Barnes and Bernie Benson. They were just there for me. Probably the greatest mentor in my life here at Valley Christian was Marlon Brook, and just his stay the course steadiness for Christian education and working with the student athlete. He taught me so much, and I hope I can continue that on. And now that we've added new teachers and new coaches, I would love to be their mentor the way I was mentored when I got here.
There have been a few people at Valley who help me daily to become the person that God wants me to be, and I've always known I could be. Mr. Scott Timmer. I'll never forget my first day of health class when Mr. Timmer was giving one of his Timmer talks. He introduced me to Christ that first day, and I've never formally credited him with doing so, but I'm here today to give thanks to him for changing my life.
As you heard by now, we'll be starting Valley Christian Elementary next year. We now anticipate opening our elementary campus, if everything goes exactly right and the speed of city approvals and permits, in 2020, but more likely on the fall of 2021. Last Friday, we dedicated our new land to the Lord, knowing the impact we have is only by God's grace.
When we walked in even, I just looked out at this land and I thought, God, what are the possibilities? What will you choose to do over the next generation and 2 and 3 generations later? Because of the faith of a few people that started 30 plus years ago, and now we're standing here today. David comes before God in Psalm chapter 5, and he says, "In the morning, O Lord, will you hear my voice? In the morning I will order my prayer to thee and eagerly watch." You see, every revival that has ever taken place in church history has always begun with prayer.
We just thank you that you are going to provide the perfect people for the jobs. God, you're going to provide an immense amount of students that are going to be poured into to be world changers, Jesus. We thank you that you are a rewarder of those who diligently seek you. And we thank you that our school leaders and our teachers have been diligently seeking you for the past many, many years, God. And we thank you that they are people who seek after your heart. So we just thank you for the promise that's in your word, that you are a rewarder of those who seek you, God. We enter this next season full of faith, Jesus, because we know that faith is what pleases you. We know that you can do big things and nothing is too big for you, God. So we just thank you that what happens here these next few years, God, in building this school, God, will just continue to grow and grow and grow because you are faithful and you are going to build your kingdom here through this school, Jesus.
I'm going to ask Dr. Greg Tonkinson to come forward. We're so blessed to have him as our spiritual life director, and he's going to close in prayer for us.
I've been asked to do the closing prayer and benediction. Why is it named the closing prayer and benediction? It brings finality to this particular service. But I want the class of 2019 to know it does not bring finality to anything but this service. For your lives are entering a new stage to which we are thrilled for you. Up at the senior camp, or the senior retreat this past week, we had a moment where the seniors got to share a little bit about their lives and what they reflect back on and what they're encouraged by. And over again, student after student after student, without being told to say so, said, "I'm proud to be a Trojan." And I want you to know, 2019, we were proud to serve you these past 4 years, as a faculty, as a staff, as a community. Go out and do great things for the Lord, and we'll have stories in heaven to share with each other. Let's close in prayer. Jesus, thank you for tonight. God, I thank you that you begin a work in people, and then you create this tapestry, this wonderful collection of the body of believers, to where when we look back, it makes sense. In the middle of it, it doesn't at times. And so, God, I pray fervently for this class. They have demonstrated over and over again how committed they are to you. They've shown that these past 4 years. And as Mr. Kuiper mentioned, it is bittersweet to see them leave. So God, I pray that you would protect each one of them. Holy Spirit, that you would inspire them, as Mike shared, that to do great things for you based on the strengths that you've given them. And God, most of all, I pray that they would hold fast to your word in those beautiful times and in those times that are challenged, that they would stand strong and firm in you. God, that they would not be ashamed of the gospel, but that in the way that you've built them, the gospel would go forward. And we'll be in heaven one day sharing stories of how you used this class for your glory. May we support them every step of the way. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Seniors, can I ask you to rise at this time? Now is the time we've all been waiting for. Graduating class of 2019, you may now move your tassels from the right side of your mortarboard to the left. It is now my pleasure to present to you the graduating class of 2019.